Oh, a little Glenn Miller. Love that. No, no, that's probably before my time. Actually, it's before even my mother's time. She was more of a Elvis girl. Even Johnny Ray was before her time. So, and I was never much of a musically inclined guy in the first place. I want to mention my friend Dr. Eric F. Jones, if I could, for just a moment. Dr. Jones has been a guest on this show. He may come back and join us sometime this fall. He uses a holistic, systemic approach to wellness. And he was fine on the air. The calls he took? People are so interested in this traditional method of treating different ailments you might have. He's got master's and doctoral degrees in marriage and family therapy. He's been doing this since 1993. Dr. Eric F. Jones uses methods of alternative healing, naturopathy, medicinal herbs, nutrition, sound waves, intellectual cognitive self regulation, and napathy to help remedy and manage mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual challenges. I was currently accepting new patients and has evening and Saturday appointments available. Number 731-7178. By the way, his group on Facebook is known as Eric F. Jones, PhD, Mental Health and Wellness Therapy, and that is Eric with a C. Hillary Clinton responded to Donald Trump's remarks. As I said earlier, it's like hearing somebody's fingernails across a blackboard.
There wasn't a lot in it for most Americans. He's got he announced a few days ago that he's got a dozen economic advisors. Let's see. He's got 3 Wall Street money managers, an oil baron, a former chief economist at one of the big banks at the heart of the financial crisis.
Democrats used to have people who could speak like, oh, I don't know, John Kennedy, Mario Cuomo, even Jesse Jackson, and today we're relegated to, how far the Democrat Party has fallen in some of these situations. Just a couple of other quick notes about all of this, if I could, because I one other quick note about this campaign. A Boston University student who's home for the summer. She lives in Massachusetts. Her name is Katie Checkwitz, which means she's got Eastern European ancestry. She's not a minority by any means. She posted a video of herself stealing Donald Trump signs from people's yards, private property. And then after doing this on Twitter, she got a lot of nasty responses, and she has since pulled down the video, but some people managed to save it. This is her narrating her crime as she was actually doing it.
So, per Twitter request, I am going to be taking 2 Trump signs off someone's lawn. Stay tuned. We're rolling up now. I'm going to pull over really quick. This person's lawn.
That is the sound of her ripping up the signs then. And then she put up smiley faces on her tweet and everything else. Since then, she has been getting a lot of what you might call vituperative responses. That is, hate responses, and people being rather nasty. And now she's whining, saying that people are being mean to her because she was a thief. Apparently, she doesn't understand that stealing is wrong. And she's now trying to make amends and says she will pay for the yard signs that she tore out of the yard and then tore to pieces and threw into a trash barrel, and filmed herself doing all of that. But that is your typical Democrat out there, a thief and likely getting a pile of your tax dollars to pay for her education at Boston University. So just to share that with you this morning. Also, if we get a chance later in the program, Trump was accused last week of throwing a woman out of a rally because her baby was crying. Well, that woman appeared last night on Fox, and that woman says nothing of the sort happened. She said Donald Trump was joking with me. And yet, media isn't telling you that part of it. Oh, that mean old Donald Trump doesn't like crying babies. Turns out he was joking with a woman while it was going on, and she said, I got no problem with Donald Trump, and I'm still voting for him. I'm sure that other than Fox, all of the other media will jump on that story. Steve Millington is in studio with us, and he's going to spend the next half hour with us. Got about a minute before the break, but just to let people know, in the next half hour, we're going to talk about differences between the people who steal yard signs and Republicans in the next half hour.
That's right. We're going to try to identify what makes Republicans different from Democrats.
Why are we better and more morally upstanding?
Or why are Democrats different from Republicans? and it's an interesting conversation I had with a couple of guys earlier in the last week. and it was some things that I had not thought of previously, and so we're just going to kind of see how that plays out and how far we can go with it.
I was going to say, I'm sure that conversation went very well.
Yes.
Did you see this story on Drudge where in Cleveland, two guys got into an argument? One guy said, "I'm voting for Trump." So the second guy went outside, got a pistol, and came back and shot the Trump supporter. The Democrat shot him.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah. So we're dealing with some people out there who have anger management issues.
Boy, you got that right.
I guess they need more food stamps. They can get more Doritos, and that comfort food will help them out.
Yeah, yeah. Get him a bigger Pepsi.
Yeah, 44 ounces on your dime.
Yep, you got it.
We've got more with Steve Millington coming up in just a few minutes. Bill Colley as well on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. It's 8:30, and it's, we're at 58, which we'll take. It's actually nice to have a little bit of good sleeping weather in the middle of summer. We'll get to our guest in just a moment. That's Steve Millington. He's in the studio with us this morning until 9 o'clock. He is the chairman of the Twin Falls County Republican Party. He's got a lot to talk about with us today. In fact, a big event tomorrow that he'll mention as well. Just a quick reminder to those folks out there who are listening to the program this morning, if you're having difficulty hearing it, and it may not always be my soundboard or me, could actually be your ears, so you need to see Dr. Christine Pickup, a doctor of audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology in Rupert. With advances in healthcare, people obviously are living longer, healthier lives. But cognitive decline continues to be a major concern. People with hearing loss have a much greater risk of developing that decline, which can lead to dementia. Now, the greater the loss, the greater the risk. Keeping your hearing healthy is an important part of your overall wellness. Knowing your hearing status, doing something about it, can lead to a better, healthier life as you age. Now is the time to schedule a hearing evaluation. You can call the doctor at Mount Harrison Audiology. The number 312-0957. Steve Millington joining me, Bill Colley, this morning on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. 736-0300, the telephone number, 736-0300. So differences between Democrats and Republicans. My daughter asked me that question when she was 10 years old. And I said, Republicans basically would like you to keep more of your money. Democrats would like to take more of it and tell you how you should live while they spend it for you. And then I said to her, "Which one are you?" And she said, "I'm a Republican." It might have been a little too simplistic, but
it got the point across.
Right.
And one of the things, it's interesting, Donald Trump yesterday in Detroit made his first big speech on here's how I'm going to stimulate and change and motivate the economy. Reduce taxes, bring jobs back, the speech. This morning, in watching some of the replays, Hillary Clinton says, "Well, that doesn't work. Here's what we need." Oh, I've got the hiccups this morning. This is terrible. Here's what we need to do. We need
You can have a Democrat come in and frighten you, and they'll go away.
Just the thoughts of the Democrats. And
you mentioned Hillary. That's pretty frightening.
That was it. We need to spend more money on infrastructure rebuilding. And a commentator said, "Yep, that's right. The Keynesian liberal Democrats all are of the opinion that all we need to do is spend the money on some project, and it will stimulate the economy and make everything better."
Didn't we try that about 6-7 years ago?
That's exactly what this guy, he said, we spent, I think the number was like $780 or $90 billion when Obama first came into office. The stimulus had some classy name for it, and I can't think of it now. It was a joke is what it was. But anyway, he said, "How's that work for you? Did we get any real economic growth? Was it sustainable? Is it still here? No, it isn't. Because the thing we have to do is figure out how to grow the economy internally without government interference."
Well, a lot of that money went to people who were big donors so they could build solar panels, and now they're out of business.
Yeah, right. I can't remember the name of the one company.
Solyndra.
Thank you. That's the name.
Yeah.
I think when they took out bankruptcy, it was like $250 or $300 billion that they walked away from.
Wow.
Yeah, we did good on that, didn't we? So anyway, what are some of the differences between Republican and Democrat? And after a long conversation, and we talked about the things like the various issues that we have, the comparative The Republican platform from the National Committee is multifaceted and has many pages and many subsections in it. The Democrat one, on the other hand, not so much. It's narrowed down very small and very narrow. And I said, well, that's because they didn't have anything to say. And he said, no, that's not quite right. If we have 50 million Republicans, we will have 50,100,000 individual ideas. If we have 50 million Democrats, we will have 5 ideas. And the Democrats all coalesce behind these few ideas that they cling to. And he mentioned several that are quite obvious: abortion, gun control, illegal immigration, um, uh, tax the rich, destroy the corporations. And they all gather behind that few items, and that becomes the bulwark of Democrat thinking. Very liberal, very government oriented. The government's going to take care of everything. The government can solve all your problems. The government is your buddy and your
Just
friend.
like the IRS or the EPA with the Gold King mine
Yeah, that's
disaster.
exactly right. But the Republicans, on the other hand, are more, and he used the term, individuals. And so every one of us has our own list of individual ideas that we want to subscribe to. We don't and can't subscribe to the Democrat philosophies and ideologies, so we all become Republicans. But when we get there, we all have our own basic ideas. So he said, you have a lot of Democrats, you have one idea. You have a lot of Republicans, you have many ideas. That's the individualism, the independence of the Republican thinking. And he says it takes a long time for them to all come together to unify, is the new term that everybody wants to cling on to. And he said that's what we're looking at right now.
More with Steve Millington coming up. It's 8:40. It's 54. Bill Colley with you as well on KLIX. I don't think it's cold enough yet for people to turn on the heating units in their homes, but we've been reminding people better to find out sometime in August or September if the heating unit works before you really need it, because when it gets cold and you turn it on and nothing happens, that's
not a good sign.
So we've been recommending getting in touch with the professionals at Ramsey Heating and Electric today. The team at Ramsey's will make sure it's done right the first time, and they'll take care of all those issues to make sure that it works when you need it. Problem-free, cozy winters are found at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. You can telephone 678-0459. That's Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they sell warm winters and cool summers. I'm sure it was cold out on the ranch this morning, wasn't it?
It was a little on the chilly side. In fact, when I went out the first time this morning and kind of took care of a few things around before I came to town, I come back in the house and I said, if I spend much time out there this morning, I'm going to have to put on a long sleeve shirt. But it went away.
It's my favorite time of year when we get into these chilly overnights, but the days are still warm.
Yeah, we do have the advantage here in this location, Southern Idaho. If we have what we refer to as an Indian summer, we will have a lot of these warm days and the cool evenings. And sometimes that is the best time of the year.
Steve Millington is our guest. He's in this. Well, we get football coming up too. That for me makes it even better. I know what I'm going to do on my Saturday afternoons now for the next several months. Maybe Sundays
Watch a little
too.
Football, huh?
Yeah. We have a caller with us, and Steve Millington is our guest. He's the chairman of the Twin Falls County Republican Party. Bill Colley with you as well on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. It's 59 at 8:45. Telephone number 736-0300. And caller, you're on the air.
Good morning. Maybe they're not.
Maybe they decided that they didn't want to speak to us. I know. There we go.
I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Some mornings we have a little bit of Bill has a little bit of a challenge finding all the right buttons on the keyboard.
People come in later in the day and move them all around, and then they don't move them back.
They change all the configuration, and you can't. Okay, caller, what do you want to talk about?
Well, Steve, I'm concerned that the senators, representatives, with the exception of Pete Nielsen, are not concerned about the safety of our citizens in this Magic Valley area, and also Lee Hyder, by the way. They're the only two that have attended any of the activities. And when Bridget Gabriel came the other night, I sent 2 emails, sent snail mail out, and called all of them and left messages for them to attend. So they had plenty of advance notice. And as far as I know, none of them attended, with the exception of Pete Nielsen, who of course was defeated in the primary. And Kathy Romer was a county commissioner, came from Jerome. But Bridget Gabriel brought out a real point. They were all Christian in Lebanon. She's an Arab Christian. And guess what? They were real benevolent to all of the refugees coming in and so forth. Everything was hunky-dory. And then all of a sudden the Muslims got a majority, and then all of a sudden they started killing the Christians. And it's been going on and on and on. Same things happened every place else. But I'm real concerned, as chairman of the party here, these people need to be come out and find out, instead of the dog and pony show that the Times News put on. It was, they all showed up for that, but they all want to put their head in the sand and deny really knowing what Islam is all about. And true Islam is fundamental Islam, is a religion of hate and killing. And they have a world goal of that. And Steve, I'd like you to address that and get onto your people here locally, to really study this issue out. Bridget Gabriel gave a tremendous talk, and yet they just boycott it. They boycotted everything. So why is that?
And can I follow up on that too, Steve?
Sure.
In my opinion, going to it doesn't mean you necessarily endorse it. I mean, you've been to some of these
Yes,
events
I have.
yourself because you just are curious. Going to it doesn't necessarily mean an endorsement.
I think that's a good point. There's a difference between endorsing a situation and investigating a situation, and our caller is correct that we need to be a little bit more engaged in the process. What is it that we're really facing here? And this is just kind of a follow-up, a sidebar, if you will, to our caller's concern about Islam. There was an article this morning. I want to refer to Dredge Report, I think. And it was headlined out of Italy. Now, Italy, the legislative people in Italy have passed a bill, a law, which now it makes permissible, acceptable, same-sex marriages. And that's really awkward in Italy, the headquarters of the Catholic Church, and there's been a tremendous amount of tension between the various elements there in Italy. But they passed this bill that permits same-sex marriages. The Italian Islamic Council, and it's got a great big huge acronym, and I cannot remember that for you. I apologize. But anyway, they said, wait a minute. If it is all right, acceptable, legally, for same-sex marriages, and that is their, quote, civil right, unquote, then polygamy is also a civil right. And as Muslims, we demand the right to engage in polygamous marriages. And it just kind of tipped the whole cycle over. I mean, wait a minute, what are you guys talking about? That you can't do that. Wait a minute. If you can have your civil right in this regard, then we should be able to have our civil rights in our right. And it's heading up through the process and through the legalities and so forth in Italy, but it points out what our caller referenced, and that is they kind of lay back until they reach a point where they have enough influence or control or think that they do, that they can begin to push their agenda. Now, I'm not sure, but as I understand it, the Islam, it's 4 wives.
Right, I think 4.
Something like
and
that.
You can easily divorce them too.
Yeah. So
You may have a limit on that, but it's still fairly easy to get a divorce.
Yeah, and I don't know that. I do know that they can have multiple wives, and that obviously is not a very well accepted around the world. But now Islam is pushing that. The Islamic people are pushing that in Italy because they said, wait a minute, if these people can have their same-sex marriages, we ought to be able to have our desired marriage, which is polygamy.
Here's the thing, though, to follow up on this, and I know a lot of Republicans in this community who tell me off air, off the record, that they're concerned about what's going on with this program. Now, they do feel that they're a little hamstrung because it's independent contractors and they really don't have a lot of control over this, but they're concerned. But they don't speak about it publicly very often, and that worries me because, look, I know that perhaps they're worried about what some people in media might say, but I can tell you right now from my own perspective, I think my influence is probably minimal. I mean, my ego would like to say it's much more. And I think that the folks at the newspaper would admit the same thing, that it's not really as much as we'd like it to be. So if they're going to be criticized, I really don't think it's going to have much of an impact. And it surprises me that they wouldn't share the concerns publicly and that they would shy away at least from showing up to hear what the woman had to say.
Well, and part of the showing up thing is that, and I have no frame of reference on this. It's just why would they not come? I think that you have the photographers and the reporters showing up to these events, looking, among other things, to see who's there. We may talk about the subject matter and how it was presented and what occurred, but more importantly, we want to say, well, so and so was here and so was here, or they take a bunch of pictures and we end up with our picture in the either the newspaper or the digital version, and people say, well, what the heck is this all about? For example, last spring when we had the primary election in Idaho, we had a caucus event, the Democrat caucus event. Well, it, uh, to be fair, you had the Republicans on their election night, and you had the Democrats here on their caucus night. Well, as part of that arrangement, I went over to the CSI Auditorium, Fine Arts Center, and watched the Democrat caucus, and looked at what was going on and the people, and there was lots of folks that I knew and knew me, and the question was, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, wait a minute. I'm not defecting from the Republicans. That the radio is going to have a little broadcast tonight about the caucus, and so I'm here as an observer. We'll go back over to the radio station. We'll talk about it, and we'll get some conversation." The reporter, the photographer for the newspaper was there, and I just called him by name. That we know each other. We've been around enough. I said, "Come on, don't do that." And he took 2 or 3 pictures of me. Well, they didn't. I don't think they put it on the printed media, but they did put it on the digital side. And my email went crazy for a couple of days. What are you doing at the Democrat? So it just points out that even though I had a good reason for being there, and I like to watch, know your enemy, see what's going on, don't take them for granted. So to watch and see what was happening and then come back over here and we talked about it for a couple of 3 hours that night. But the fact remains that you're in a public position, you're always subject to that exposure.
We got 2 things to do and only a few minutes to do them in. Steve has an announcement about an event tomorrow,
Yep.
but we'll get to a caller first. Caller, make it quick. You're on the air.
Good morning. I'll make this real short. I don't know if he knows or not, but who makes the decision on this debate between Hillary and Trump? I mean, during football games. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah.
I'll take my comment off the air. Thank you.
I agree with you 100%. I don't know who scheduled those debates, but the guy obviously doesn't live in the real world. You do not schedule a presidential debate on top of a pro football game. What in
Especially
the world?
the Packers.
Yeah, what in the world
wear
kind
my
of an
Vikings
idiot would even consider such a thing? How stupid is that? It just boggles my mind. And I don't know which one of the alphabet stations is going to carry that, but you talk about completely stupid. That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard in my life.
Got about a minute and a half.
Okay, we're going to
How
have
do we
a
get
big
tickets for this picnic?
You don't need a ticket. You can just show up. We're going to have a picnic, Twin Falls City Park. Starts at 6 o'clock. Be there just a minute
Tomorrow
or two
night.
early. Tomorrow night, Twin Falls City Park. We're going to have the typical picnic doings, hamburgers, hot dogs, all of the side dishes and desserts. And in addition, we have confirmation of Senator Crapo. We've got somewhat commitments from several of the state elected officers. Nearly all of our local elected officials are going to be there. County officers, Legislative District 23, 24, 25, 26 are all going to. And 26, by the way, is Blaine, uh, Lincoln, Gooding, Camas County area. They're going to be here as well. So we're going to have, and our county, Twin Falls County officials will be here. So we're going to have an opportunity for people to mingle and visit and ask questions of the our local elected people. And besides, we'll have Senator Crapo here. And we also are going to have Steve Yates, our state party chairman, will be in attendance also, and discuss issues with us and get an idea of what we need to be doing around here. So Twin Falls City Park, 6 o'clock. There is a fee. We're asking $10 per adult or $25 per family. You just we'll have a ticket desk, and you just pay as you come in the door. Everything is provided. The plates, the forks, the spoons, the water, the sodas, and a good time, and good people and good fun.
And again, you can ask folks questions in a very
Yes,
relaxed setting.
Relaxed, and where there won't be a lot of. Each of them will get just a few minutes to talk about some special issue. We've definitely allocated time for Senator Crapo, and we've definitely allocated time for Chairman Steve Yates. The rest of them will get just a few minutes. The ones who have challenges will take more. The ones who don't have challenges will just make sure that we know who they are. So come and sit down and visit with us and have a good time. Tomorrow night, Twin Falls City Park.
We'll see you in about 1 week.
Yes, we will.
Steve Millington joining us this morning, chairman of the Twin Falls County Republican Party. It's coming up on 9 o'clock. It is 54. Dropped a couple of degrees. Bill Colley with you as well. One more hour of the program still ahead. Speaking of that refugee issue, some thoughts on that coming up in the next hour, as well as a little discussion on the economy, maybe a follow-up to some of Mr. Trump's remarks yesterday. Oddly enough, one of the columnists at the Wall Street Journal, one of the better-known ones who's been opposed to Trump, says Trump just hit on some very good ideas. So maybe there's still time, folks.